I'm just trying to understand if someone making $100,000 pays 5% of their income versus somebody that makes half of that, there's still a progressive quality to the taxation, or am I misinformed on
Well,
that?
I mean, we can quarrel over those terms. I'm just talking about the difference between a flat tax and a graduated.
A graduated marginal tax rate. Okay.
Yeah. Just moving off subject. I was curious what you think of the president's decision to bring Professor Gates and Sergeant Crowley down to Washington this Thursday. Whether you think any good's going to come out of this, and if you had any suggestions on how you would go about solving this issue.
Well, thank you for that opening. I'm going to punt. I'm glad that the president and Sergeant Crowley and Professor Gates are getting together. I think it was Sergeant Crowley's idea. Yeah. At least I read that somewhere, and I think it's marvelous. Will something good come out of it if the two of them, meaning Professor Gates and Sergeant Crowley, can find common ground? That's something good to come out of it. Whether it enables a more constructive conversation on race in the Commonwealth or in the country, I think the jury is still out on that. I think we have not found, in my experience or in my lifetime here in this country, a way to balance, a way to have a balanced conversation about race that acknowledges the extraordinary progress we have made with the distance we still have to cover.
I think we have time for one more question.
I have one if nobody else does. You told a group at the State House yesterday, or at your office yesterday, a group of reporters that you acknowledged that a drop in your popularity, which a Globe poll found to be 36% favorable now, was a consequence of leadership. And it sounds like you refer to the campaign that you're eager to see begin, and it seems like it is already underway.
Like it or not.
Yeah, really. Do you have enough time and enough opportunities to explain your leadership and to win that support back?
Well, I guess we'll know that in November of next year.
How are you going to do that, though? How are you going to set out to make sure that does happen?
Well, I think that's what campaigns are for. I believe in grassroots campaigning, so I'll be out as I have been. I think it is. What I believe in is being out where people are, both physically and and emotionally, meeting them where they are, letting them tell me what they need, what they look for. I have a bunch of ideas, and we've got having come through the last 2-year session, the most productive in 30 years, and all these reforms in the first 6 months of this session, a great record to run on. But I don't think that this campaign is or ought to be about what we've done. I think it's got to be about where we're going. And I think that because we're in the midst of, this is not just another time. This is not just another campaign. This is a moment in the life of our country, in the life of our Commonwealth, where we're going to make some real choices, I think, about whether we go forward or go back. It's back to the point I was making earlier about the usefulness or lack of usefulness of some of the same old rhetoric around taxes, around government. We're going to have to decide, are we in this together? Are we one Commonwealth? And how I'm going to do that is just about being out, talking with people, listening to people, making them feel a part of this, giving them some reassurance about what that direction is that I'm proposing we go in, so that they have a clear choice whether they want that direction or the direction that one of my opponents is offering. And if one of my opponents, if the people choose one of my opponents' direction, that's okay. That's what democracies are about.
take one more? Or no? You're done?
Go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that the state hasn't had the discipline in regional equity. And just quickly, as governor, what have you feel like you've accomplished in terms of bringing more regional equity? And where do you think you've fallen short on that you would like to have done more that you haven't yet?
Well, I think there is.
Apart from the broadband initiative.
Apart from the broadband.
Because I already know about that.
Okay. Well, I think I'm quite proud of our of the proportion of highway money that's been invested in regions outside of 128 and 495. I've been working with my fellow governors in Connecticut and Vermont about extending the rail from New Haven up through Springfield and on to Vermont, and working with the congressional delegation on that. I've had made some progress with the Secretary of Transportation on that project as well. We have invested a great deal of money compared to my predecessors in the creative economy in Western Massachusetts. We put a tremendous amount of time and money and ideas into Springfield. The new high-speed, high-performance computing center in Holyoke is a collaboration between MIT and BU and UMass and also Cisco and EMC, and we purposefully directed that to Western Massachusetts. I think that's going to create a real economic hub in this region as well. I mean, I can go on. I can list the numbers of companies, new companies, many of them in clean and alternative energy areas, which has been a real focus of our administration, that have established themselves in Western Mass and are growing here. And I mentioned UMass. The higher ed bond bill is the largest investment in public college and university infrastructure in, I think, 30 years in the Commonwealth, and UMass Amherst and the community colleges have a stake in that. So there's sure more to be done. I mean, there's a lot of public education money that comes to pre-K through 12 in Western Massachusetts, Springfield being the single largest recipient, I think, of Chapter 70. But still, back to the achievement gap, we got issues with the achievement gap in the schools in Springfield and Holyoke, and to some extent in Chicopee as well. So I can get you a whole long list, but I guess the other thing I'd say that I think matters, I'm here a lot on purpose. I try to make my presence felt. We have a Western Mass office, which the legislature voted not to fund, and we're figuring out other ways to keep it open, because I think that's important to folks out here as well. And when I say I'm here, I'm not just in the big cities. I'm up in the, you talk to some of the dairy farmers sometime about what this administration has meant for them. I'm up in the hill towns and off the highways too. So.
Quick yes or no question. Does Smith College treat its first-year students well?
Yes. Yes. This has been absolutely magical.
Great.
Yes, you said it better.
She's going back?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.